one of the songs of yours that it's not on this body of work, but Hi Ren.
Yeah.
It is so brutally honest, and it's a conversation amongst yourself. And I mean, are you crafting that record thinking back to where you were mentally at that time, or are you crafting that record from a space where, like, what you hear is where you were? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think with that song, because I mean, it's impossible for my house stuff not to leak into stuff, just 'cause it's been so much a big part of my periphery. But that song was really, I mean, the core of it was really just the human plight, not the plight of the chronically ill person, but just the human plight of these two duality, the ego and the self-doubt, and the overconfidence and the overdoubt. It was just really like the doubt of me as a creator. And it was quite fun, actually, at times for me to just poke fun at that, and poke fun at myself and not take it too seriously, you know? And yeah, I think that's why it did so well, because it was on a human level just relatable to a lot of people.
Totally.
Because you don't have to have gone through a big life full of trauma to be able to have a voice inside that's like, you can't do that. Especially in today's age, man, like with like the barrage of like, we're put under a microscope, and social media has made us all performers. Like all of us are now entertainers, because we're all just showing little snippets of our lives, which I think is a new thing for the human brain to process and get to terms with, of like being so observed makes you very self-aware. And within that realm of self-awareness becomes a lot of self-criticism, right? So, and I think that's why, and also as well, I mean, it's a 9-minute song, which is a bit of an antithesis. It's a bit of a juxtaposition to what is successful these days, which is short, fast food content, you know? Yeah.
Well, because you're telling a real story, and honestly, it's the details are so vivid, and the way you produce it, I can see you talking to yourself in a mirror. I can see the duality, like the two sides of you.
Yeah.
Super wild.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
Exquisite song.
Yeah.
Really fucking exquisite.
Appreciate that.
Is that a stream of consciousness, or how does that work?
I had the concept for years, actually. I hadn't done anything with it. I knew I wanted to do it, and I actually had a whole 4-minute long song which I scrapped all of the lyrics for, which was a similar sort of concept. But then I came back to it years later, because I'd gotten better at guitar, I'd gotten better at lyric writing, and I was like, I want to bring this concept to life. I think it'd be a really cool video. I never really expect it to go the way it did, and in the end as well, the end was a lot bleaker at the start. It ended up with me offing myself after the negative voice gets too much. And I remember showing my friend, and they were like, "Ren, why are your songs always so bloody depressing?" And I was like, that's a good point. And so I went away and thought about it, sat with it for a while, and then I wrote that last verse, which ended up being my favourite verse on the song, which is a lot more hopeful and bringed a lot more, which was actually more true to my story at the time as well. So it was, yeah, I'm really glad that they pulled me up on it in that way, actually, because I think it's my favourite thing. It is the kind of acceptance of the dark and the light, rather than one winning over the other, because it's not even really the light winning over the dark of the hope. It's just more that those two things exist in parallel duality, and
they could exist, and they should exist on any given day,
and they always do. That's the thing. I think we're obsessed with the narrative of good versus evil in Hollywood, in stories and everything, and it's always like the battle of good versus evil, and whether in a horror film or in a superhero film, one always wins. But I don't really think that's the truth. I think that it's more akin to the yin yang symbol, where both exist inside each other, and there'll always be a place for both and a need for both.
What a beautiful thing to accept.
Yeah, and I think that acceptance makes, because I think we're such harsh critics of ourselves. You know what I mean? We're so quick to point fingers at people without accepting our own hypocrisy within that. But I do think life becomes less of a struggle when you don't see things as this is good, this is bad, this is black, this is white. Because I think when things are like that, it becomes a little bit more jarring to navigate life.